Hello, sixth grade, Miss Carswell here, and welcome to our second week of Unit 7. During this week, we are going to be focusing on visual representations of data. So we're going to be looking at a number of different kinds of graphs, and we're going to get that started today with dot plots. So please follow along as we learn about what a dot plot is and how we can use it. This right here is an example of a dot plot. The first thing that I'm going to notice is the title, okay? It says number of books bought. What this is showing us is the number of books bought by different people, okay? Each dot represents a person. It represents how many books each of those people bought, okay? So for example, right, 2 books, well, that means 1, 2, 3 people, 3 different people went to the store and bought 2 books, okay? 2 people, because there's 2 dots, bought 3 books, and so on. When I look at this dot plot, there's a lot of information that I can figure out from this visual. Okay, let's look at some of those things that I jotted down. The first thing that I noticed is that nobody went and bought just one book, right? The minimum number of books that someone bought was 2. The maximum was 7. But nobody, because there's no dots right here, nobody bought just one book. I can see that 2 people bought 7 books, right? I said the maximum number of books bought was 7 because my number line doesn't go past 7. And I can see that 1, 2, because there's 2 dots above the 7, 2 people bought 7 books. I can also see that this visual is representing information from 11 people. Okay, so 11 total people bought books. I know that because I counted the number of dots, right? I said each of these dots represents a different person going to the store. And when I count up all of the dots, there are 11. That means that there are 11 people. Let's look at this visual in a little bit more depth, thinking in particular about the vocabulary words that we learned last week. So the first thing that I want you to be able to do when you see a dot plot is turn it into an ordered list of the data, okay? So for example, we're gonna make a list of the number of books that people bought. My ordered list will look like this, and this is how I made it, right? I took each of these dots, and then I turned it into a number, right? So there should be 1, 2, 3 2s, because 3 people bought 2 books, okay? I have 2 3s, 2 4s, 1 5, because there's 1 dot, 1 6, and 2 7s. Okay, so that's how I made this ordered list. Then I'm going to go through the vocabulary words that we learned last week. So the minimum number of books bought, I said on the last page, was 2, and the maximum was 7. Using this information, I can calculate the range. Remember, the range is the maximum, so 7 minus 2 is 5. So my range here is 5. I can also use this ordered list to calculate the mean, the median, and the mode. I would calculate the mean by adding all of these numbers up and dividing by 11 because there's 11 numbers. I would get 4 and 3/10. The median from this ordered list is going to be the number in the middle, and that is 4. And last but not least, the mode. So the number of books that was bought the most often, I can identify this as 2 because I see 3 2s in my list. I can also get that just from looking at my dot plot, right? Which of these lines goes up the highest because it has the most dots? It would be above the 2. So my mode here is 2. So that's how we can look at this dot plot and then gather all of this information from it. I really like dot plots because it's a great way to visually sort of see what's going on in a situation. You're also going to be expected to create your own dot plots in this unit, okay? So let's look at how we would do this together. So Miss Nairn is keeping track of 5th grade students' quiz scores, and the data set shows the scores for several students, okay? Here are the scores, and we want to make a dot plot. It's really important that you start with a number line, and you do need to have an interval for every number. Even though, for example, we'll see that some students might not have scored, for example, an 85. It's important that we have all of the numbers here. So the first number on my list is 90, so I'm going to find 90 and just go ahead and put a dot above it. Next, I see 87, then 91, then a 93. Then I have another 90, so I'm going to put a dot above. And I'm going to go so on and so forth until I have put in information for all of the numbers. And that's all that there